Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, just everyone's joining at the same time, so just rapidly letting everyone in. So we'll get started in like a minute or so while I kind of get everyone into the room. I'll kind of monitor that um, as I talk. So if you hear me awkwardly pause, it's because I'm trying to let someone into the meeting. I don't want to start too late, and we do want to end a little bit earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Barbara Moreno, and I am the School Client Services Manager. And I am joined today by Yvonne Jones from the Kids Ride Free program here at DDOT. And today we're going to talk exactly about what's on the screen, which is the Kids Ride Free program. Let's show you the agenda real quick. So I'm going to give you a little background on GoDCGo and school services and talk to you a little bit about how students travel to school and how GoDCGo supports students with sustainable transportation, specifically public transit. Then I'll kick it over to Yvonne, and she'll give you a very good program overview, a very good FAQ. And then, of course, I want to make sure we have some time for questions. So please drop them into the chat. We will answer them at the end. So just a little kind of formality there in terms of the structure. It will be, all questions will be answered at the end, but please don't hesitate to drop them in the chat as we move along. Sorry, as I mentioned, I am working on double duty and trying to let people into the room. But let's just go ahead and get started with GoDCGo and school services. So for those that are new, GoDCGo initiative of the District Department of Transportation.
Yep, I got them. I got them. Right. This is the day I picked it up. Dominique Bushnell. I called yesterday, so they were supposed to pick it up yesterday.
All right. Sorry about that. Please make sure that you're muted when you're on the call. Yes, but let's go ahead and get started. So we're part of the District Department of Transportation. We are here to provide transportation information and options. And the reason we do that is to encourage the use of sustainable transportation. And by sustainable transportation, we mean biking, walking, and of course, taking transit. GoDCGo is here to offer complimentary resources to various DC organizations, including schools. And we do all this free and at no cost, really, to help you as a school increase your sustainable transportation options, because ultimately GoDCGo was created with the goal to decrease traffic congestion in the DC area, improve air quality in the DC area, and of course, create a better quality of life in the DC area. So for GoDCGo School Services, which is the program that I work on, we're here to provide free assistance to all DC schools. So if you're a DCPS school, we're here for you. If you're a charter school, we're here for you. If you're a private school, we're also here for you to, one, support your staff by implementing and enhancing your commuter benefit programs. Two, encouraging students and families to use sustainable transportation like public transit, which is the basis of this presentation today. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how students traveled in 2019. So this is data that we gathered from students all across DC, and to kind of get a sense of how they were commuting when we were at the inception of the schools program at Go DC Go. We really wanted to make sure that we were providing the right information and resources, and we wanted to get some good data. So we did this survey in fall 2019 in the before times, and this is the data. This is what it shows. So when it comes to middle and high school students, this is their mode split. So we have about 35% taking Metro bus to and from school. We have another 25%. So we're already at 60% of students taking transit. So another 25% are taking Metrorail. 19% are having their parents drive them. 18%, a very similar percentage, are walking, and 3% are using ride hail. So like Uber, Lyft, things like that. So as you can see, public transit is very important and very key to the school transportation network, especially for middle and high school students. And when we look at elementary students, so how we got this data was we actually asked parents and family members to report on how they travel to school with their youngest student. So you'll see a slightly different pattern, but you'll still see a big chunk of students taking, even elementary students taking transit to and from school. So we have a majority of students walking, especially if they're elementary students, walking to and from school. A similar percentage driving to school, and then 60% taking Metro bus, 5% biking, and another 3% taking Metrorail. So even with elementary students, 20% of them are relying on public transit to get to and from school, which is why programs like Kids Ride Free become really, really important. In addition to, of course, this wonderful program, Kids Ride Free, and the support that is provided through that program to students across DC, Go DC Go is also here to provide different types of resources to support students and families as they travel on public transit. So one piece that kind of marketing materials and support materials that came out of the pandemic were our commute with care materials. So Go DC Go has actually developed tips for every sustainable mode. So we have this for biking and walking and all carpooling and all of that good stuff. I obviously specifically decided to highlight the traveling by bus or metro. They know that family members and parents have concerns around, is it safe to ride metro? Is it okay? This is a really good resource. It's all on our website, and we do have it available in English and Spanish. So if that's something you'd be interested in obtaining and sharing with your families, go to godcgo.com and go to the resources tab, and you'll be able to find this material, print it out, and hand it out to your staff. It's a great, great piece of material to kind of help calm some of those concerns that they have. Another way that we support schools and students and families is by helping them gather the data. So if you work at a school, which I'm probably do if you're on this call, and you're curious how your students and your families currently commute and what other modes, so maybe they currently drive, maybe they'd be interested in carpooling, maybe they'd be interested in public transit, If you're interested in trying to figure that information out and really kind of develop a sustainable transportation program for your school, Go DC Go is here. We can do a customized survey for your school. We have templates. You can review them and let us know if you have any additional questions, any modifications you'd like to make to that template. And we will provide you with not only the survey link, but also all of the data after the fact as well. So you can take that data and use it to promote sustainable transportation at your school. And if you would like to request a survey, please email info@godcgo.com to request one. This is one of our newer ones as well. This is a very fun one. So if you're looking to kind of get your students excited about transit and other transportation options here in DC, please check out our Go DC Go activity book. So we just developed this. They are very popular, so unfortunately we can't give you as many as you'd like, but you can request a limited number by emailing, again, info@godcgo.com. But it's super fun, has tons of activities like crossword puzzles, coloring, matching, all that stuff, and it's all themed around transit and sustainable transportation here in Washington, D.C. This is one of our most popular resources. So as parents are deciding what school to go to, what's a school to send their students to, and they're curious, right? Is there going to be a metro nearby, right? Is my child going to be able to hop on the metro? We actually created a list of all schools. And so this covers public schools, private schools, and charter schools that are within half a mile, which is about a 10-minute walk from a metro station. So this resource is on godcgo.com under the resources tab. It's a wonderful resource. And if you're just looking to get a sense of kind of what schools are out there and kind of provide that information to parents as they're looking to, right, pick that middle school or pick that high school for their students, this is a really great free resource that we have on godcgo.com. Also, we know that for many students and families, this might, when they're going to school and commuting to school, it might actually be their first time really kind of taking Metro on a regular basis. So they probably have questions around finding their way around the stations, around Metro cards, right? And figuring all of that information out. And so GoDCGo also developed a really great piece of material for that called the Wayfinding Guide for Metro. And you can find this as well on godcgo.com under the resources tab. And so it gives you all of the information that you need for really kind of really finding your way around Metro if you're new to it and really haven't ridden it. So it's a great resource for kind of new parents who are about to let their kids go on transit and maybe have some questions and concerns and want to provide some guidance to their students. They can absolutely use this resource. And of course, we are always providing the latest school commute information on godcgo.com. So as I mentioned earlier, we did a survey in 2019 to gather data on how students and families and staff were commuting to and from school. Here is a fun infographic that we also have on godcgo.com that kind of gives you a very nice breakdown of all the different types of data that we gathered during the survey. So how many staff are driving, how many students are walking, how many staff are biking, all of that and more was discovered in this survey, and we're hoping to complete another one by September 2022. So look forward for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully, right, we can kind of compare and see the growth of an impact of the GoDCGo program and the impact of the pandemic as well. And I want to make sure I included a slide with my contact information in case anyone has any questions about any of these resources or would like to have GoDCGo come to their school. That is also something we provide for schools. My phone number is there as well. So if you have any questions about that or post this presentation, we will be sending around the slides and a recording of the webinar as well. But if in the meantime you have any questions before we send that email out, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My contact information is on the screen. And with that, whoops, I'm going to kick it over to Yvonne.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I'm here to talk about Kids Ride Free. I work for the District Department of Transportation. If we can flip to the next slide, please. I'm sure everyone on this meeting has heard of Kids Ride Free. If not, you're in for a treat because Kids Ride Free allows the students who are district residents and enrolled in DC schools to commute to and from school and school-related activities for free. This was an initiative championed by Mayor Bowser. It's been in place for several years now, and it's a wonderful benefit for our students to help them travel cost-free and safely. It's also one of two programs that the agency administers related to school transit. The other one is the Adult Learners School Transit Subsidy Program. Next slide, please. So it's a joint effort. Nobody can do anything by themselves. Teamwork, teamwork. DDOT, WMATA, and OCTO all work together to administer the Kids Ride Free program. OCTO does the technology behind the scenes part of it. WMATA, of course, is front and center because they handle the actual, getting the kids through the turnstiles and loading the fare product onto the smart trip cards for the students to use. We give out thousands and thousands and thousands of student cards every year. That number 50,000 is, of course, a pre-pandemic number. We didn't give out quite so many last year, but we're hoping to get kids back on public transit and the numbers back up to closer to normal this year. We also issue thousands of replacement cards. So if students lose their card, misplace their card becomes deactivated for whatever reason, they can go to their school ID administrator and get another card for free. It can be cumbersome if you have students that lose their cards a lot, but regardless, they are entitled to a replacement card for free. So like they say on the commercial, free, 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 free. There's also a unique card design every year. You may have noticed that for the past few years, the cards have looked the same, but just been different colors. We had green, last year we had blue, this year we have purple. So it's the same design with Kids Ride Free very prominently written on the front of it, but the overall card color is purple. And the cards are valid for an entire school year, plus a little bit more. They stay valid through September 30th each year to allow for a little bit of overlap so that there's transition time for students to get to school and start the school year and get their new card without having their old card expire and they don't have a means to travel. So every year the cards are good through September 30th. Next slide, please. So presenter information. That's me on the left, Yvonne Jones, and I'm a program analyst with the District Department of Transportation. While I do have an individual email that goes directly to me, the best way to reach us with issues related to Kids Ride Free is by the school.transit@dc.gov email address. That way, anyone working with the program can have access to whatever your message is about, and you'll get a response in a much more timely manner. And I'll let my colleague who's here with me, Joanne Lowe, introduce herself.
Good morning, all. How y'all doing? My name is Joanne Lowe. I'm a transportation specialist. I work in the Kid Ride Free program. I'm here to assist you whenever you need any kind of support about if you have an issue about training or the car's not working, you can contact DDOT and we can assist you or direct you with the right people. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, that one. Okay, who's eligible to participate in Kids Ride Free? I mentioned this before briefly, but to be very specific, students need to meet 3 criteria. They must be residents of the District of Columbia. They must be ages 5 through 21, and they must be enrolled in an elementary or secondary public, charter, private, or parochial school located within the district or youth in the care of the district. So we also have provision for students experiencing homelessness, students in the foster care system, as long as they're within the age range and also residents of the district. So we want to make sure that all of the students in the district have an opportunity to take advantage of this benefit. Next slide, please. What modes of transportation can they use the Kids Ride Free cards on? The DC Circulator, which is a bus system managed by DDOT, Metrorail, which is the train, which is managed by WMATA, and Metro Bus, which is the public bus system that's managed by WMATA. Students can use any of those modes of transportation with their Kids Ride Free card for free. One of the added, inherent benefits of this program is because they have the option to choose different modes, they can choose without consideration of cost whichever mode is going to be best for them, whichever is going to get them there the fastest, or whichever has a stop closest to their home and is the most convenient. They get to make that choice when they have these options available to them. Next slide, please. How can schools order cards? So each school should have at least 2 school ID administrators. For redundancy and backup, in case somebody takes leave, you want to make sure that the students don't have to wait to get their cards because somebody is out. We also ask that each school ID administrator complete a KRF program school ID administrator requirements form. And that, there's an exhibit on the right, outlines all of the responsibilities for the school ID administrator. It has a reminder section in the middle of program eligibility. And then it also has a section at the bottom of training and support where ID administrators can get the help they need to manage the program at their individual schools. So to order cards, the physical cards, each school needs to submit an order using a link provided in the instructions that were sent to each school earlier this year. DDOT then packages the card orders and we have them delivered to the school by courier. The turnaround time for delivery of an order is usually about, we like to say allow 7 to 10 business days, but it's usually much, much faster than that. We also need to ensure that each school has a secure place to store their card inventory. Over the years, there have been instances where cards come up missing or there's a break-in at the school and the cards are stolen. And while we do have the capacity to block cards that are identified as lost or stolen, there's still an expense associated with that for us. So while the program is free from your perspective and from the student's perspective, trust, it still costs money. So we try to keep those costs down as much as we can. So it's really important to secure your inventory, but make sure that all of the school ID administrators know where the cards are stored and how to gain access to them in case the primary person is out and the backup person needs to administer cards. They need to know where they are. Okay, next slide. When can schools order cards? We do not want to have too many cards out in the field to minimize the potential for loss and misappropriation. So we do ask that schools monitor their inventory levels and request cards, additional cards if needed, when their inventory reaches these thresholds for high school 10 or fewer, middle school 8 or fewer, and elementary 6 or fewer. We also have the capability on our end to monitor the school inventory. So if a school submits an order for additional cards and we see they still have 40 cards on hand, we're going to hold off on filling that order and continue to monitor it for a couple of days to see if it goes down. And if it doesn't, we'll reach out to the school by phone or by email to say, hey, looks like you still have 40 cards. We're not going to send you any more. Can you check your inventory? And if there's a large discrepancy between what the school physically has on hand and what our records say, then we'll do a little further research to find out what's going on. But those are the threshold levels for ordering additional SmartTrip cards. Next slide, please. Program support. So we're not going to just say you're the program administrator and throw you out there on your own. Nope, nope, nope. There's plenty of support. So you can request training for use of the Kids Ride Free Tracker, which is the tool for assigning the cards to the students. That's handled by Octo. The link is there on the screen to sign up for the training. It is a virtual training, so you can kind of schedule it with Ms. Morse at an mutually agreeable time, or you can email Keisha Morse directly. For any other technical issues, you can also contact the DC1 Service Center. The email is there and the phone number, and that's Octo as well. For general program issues or information, you can contact the DDOT School Transit Subsidy Call Center. You can reach them at the school.transit@dc.gov email, or on 673-1740. They field calls for us, and they have the answers to many common questions. But if it's something that requires a little more detail or a deeper dive for information, then they'll refer that call to myself or Joanne. But those are your primary points of contact for support with the Kids Ride Free program. Next slide, please. So if you haven't seen it, but I'm sure you have by now, on the left is an image of the purple Kids Ride Free Smart Trip card. And you can visit kidsridefree.dc.gov for program information. And there's also a link on that page to our frequently asked questions page, which is a separate web page. But there's lots of information there on the internet about Kids Ride Free if you have questions. And you can reach out to us again anytime, and we're happy to help. And you can also visit godcgo.com/school for more information on school transportation in general. And that's all I have for today. Back to Barbara.
Great. Thank you so much, Yvonne and Joanne. That was very helpful. Lots of very good information. If anyone has any questions, you can either drop them into the chat, or you can unmute yourself. So we'll just give a minute or so while people have any questions.
Hi, Ms. Barber. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
Pretty good. I have a question. I work at KIPP DC, the Learning Center. So I order some cards, but being as though I don't have the actual machine and I cannot issue cards, would I still receive the cards, or would that order be automatically canceled?
Yeah, Yvonne.
I'll take that one. Hi, Ms. Coplins. It's Yvonne. How are you?
Hi, Miss Yvonne. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So since your school doesn't physically assign cards to students, that order has been canceled. They're supposed to get their cards from whatever is their home school.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I had a quick question. This is Kelly from Capitol Hill Day School. We usually only have a handful of users each year, and we typically submit one request form per user. They come in dribs and drabs. Is that how we should continue to operate? Because it sounds like some schools, I guess, just get a stack of cards and then they assign them. I just want to make sure we're operating correctly.
Sure. Capitol Hill Day School is a charter school?
We are a private school.
A private school. Okay. You're following the correct procedure, which is to fill out an individual application for each student. We assign that card here at DDOT and then send it back to your school by courier. Yes, you're doing it correctly.
Feel free to, chat or unmute yourself if you have any other questions, but no worries if you don't. You have we'll send around the slides and you'll have our contact information. So if you have any questions after the fact, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to help and answer any questions you might have, but I'll give us another minute or so. And then if there aren't any more questions, we'll wrap up and make sure to send those slides over real quick.
I just want to say, while we're waiting to see if more questions come in, I appreciated everybody taking the time to join in today. You know, for this program to be successful, it's important for everyone to be on the same page in terms of information and administration of the program, to make sure we're all doing the same thing the same way. So thank you again for joining.
Good morning. I have a question. This is Nicole Meadows. I work here at the Kennedy School, and we're a non-public school, which we house different school students from across the city. And sometimes I run into a difficulty of, their home school, getting the smart trip and getting it to the student. is there a way that I can submit some information so that the Smart Trip can come here? Or is there another route I can take so that the other schools don't, because it's been a hassle. So is there another route that could possibly be taken?
For homeschool, at this time, we gotta make sure that we had an RC letter saying that that particular school is having homeschool. So it's best that you just send that information to our office and we just have to provide a call for you, for your student. And send-
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones.
And, I know it sometimes takes like a minute or just a couple seconds to like unmute yourself. So I want to make sure I'm adequately pausing to give people time to unmute themselves. Wait another 30 seconds or so. I've learned from teachers to wait 10 seconds. All right. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your precious time. I know we all have many things to do, but echoing what Yvonne said, thank you so much for joining us. We'll make sure to send out the slides and the recording so you can review this information as well at a later time, and we'll have all our contact information on there. So don't hesitate to reach out again in the future if you have any questions. Lisa Go and Kids Ride Free is here for you. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.